Coach Damon Floyd show here, brought to you by Groovy's Pool Company. We appreciate their continued support of Bradley Central football. And we'll get right into our interview this week with Coach Damon Floyd. I always like to start off congratulating you on another win, 35-6 at Ooltewah last week, staying in the top 5, unbeaten at 7-0, 3-0 in the region. And I was out of town, but I heard the game on my smartphone, on the app. Believe it or not, I can use a smartphone. You mentioned that post-game interview. At that time, you thought this may be the most complete game we'd played all year. And you said, I've got to look at the film and see if there's anything there. But expound on that a little bit. Tell us why you felt like it's complete. From what I heard, you dominated from the start, and the defense played solid, gave up one late touchdown. It was just pretty much an all-around game.
Yeah, well, the first thing is we didn't turn the ball over.
Right.
So we had 0 turnovers. That was huge because I think we're probably averaging at least 3 or 4 turnovers a game. And then, the first half we only had 4 penalties. We ended up with 10 for the game, so that was the negative. But, it was a pretty clean game. Like I mentioned, offense didn't turn the ball over. Special teams, I don't think we did anything special, but we didn't lose the game, which is always our goal. And then, offense, I thought we executed really well. It's funny because now that we have the turf field, their field conditions were not quite like we're used to, so it probably slowed us down a little bit. But I thought the offense executed. We didn't have any huge plays. Marcus Gorey made some big plays on the post routes, but Jackson was able to break one. But we executed. We moved the chains, so we were very efficient. Defensively, we made them one-dimensional. Our whole thing was we're going to load the box and we're going to make them throw the ball to beat us. And I think we held them to 17 yards rushing. And then now they did complete some passes. The big gainer was the 80-yarder at the end.
Take that away, and they had way under 200
Yeah,
yards.
we just played solid. I thought we tackled pretty well. We understood our responsibilities and understood what the game plan was. So, when you go back and watch film, and I will say this, we were a better football team than Ooltewah. They've been struggling in some spots this year, especially up front, and we're pretty good up front on both sides of the ball. So we did have an advantage there, and in those field conditions and those kind of things, and it played to our advantage. But a win's a win, and we'll take it. But it's about continuing to do those things.
Non-region win, but still, nevertheless, you say it was a win. Talking about that defense, you allowed only 10 first downs, 209 yards total offense, and one of those was a big part of that was 80-something yards on that one score there on the pass late in the game. 17 yards allowed, as you said, rushing on 21 attempts. Anytime you can do that and hold them to that smaller yardage and first down, you're in the game. And obviously, as you say, they were sort of outmatched up front, and our defensive front three there, they just unrelenting pressure all the time. And you made them one-dimensional, as you said, by putting those guys in the box. And that helps out immensely on defense because the backfield, you had 5 starters did not start Friday night.
Yeah.
And to still come out and jump out to a 35-0 lead there, that's pretty strong there.
Yeah, like I said, I was really pleased with the execution on both sides of the ball and in special teams. But defensively, we had new guys in there, and they really rose to the occasion. And that's one of the things that makes you proud as a coach is when they're not in and they hadn't been starters, they haven't complained. They've just continued to show up every day and do their job, and they've taken advantage of an opportunity when it comes. It's like I tell the team all from the beginning of the season, everybody's winning an opportunity. You got an opportunity every day in the off season at the weight room. You got an opportunity every day in practice, and you have opportunities in the game. Now, some do not get their opportunities as quick in the game as they'd like. That's part of life. You got to earn it. And the ones that did stick it out, and those 5 guys that came in and became starters Friday night, they did their job and did it really well. Did they make mistakes? Of course, but so did the guys that's been starting. So, just really proud of really right now our team's attitude, to be quite honest, is they show up for work every day. They care about each other. They don't really care who gets the success as long as the team does.
Right.
And, it's a fun team to coach when it's like that.
That's what you like there. Offense, let's go back and talk about that again a little bit. 495 yards offense, 24 first downs. That's a bunch of first downs. Aiden was 8 of 13. Marcus Gorey and Jay Allen Terry had 3 catches each. Marcus had 99 yards and a touchdown. Jay Allen had as long as 75 yards. Taylor Dugan had a catch in there too. And when you're getting that many first downs and getting that much yardage and you're moving those sticks, your defense sitting over here on the bench, taking it easy and getting ready to go back in fresh and all that. And now you got Aiden back 100%. He had 60 yards and a 35-yard touchdown run. There's another weapon we didn't have early in the season. That helps all the way around.
And, you talk about running the football. That's helped us all year defensively. We've thrown it around a lot in the past, and sometimes you're on the field a lot, but defensively. But, it's like I said, the offense really did a good job of executing. It was nice to see Aiden finally back to his old self. And I know mentally he's as happy as anybody for that because he was frustrated. Part of his game is obviously drop back and throwing the ball, but his game is being able to be mobile and ad-lib and just being able to be a playmaker. And Friday night he was back to that. And we tried to say after our bye week, hey, we're 0-0. Let's just start over. Aiden, forget the first 5 games and let's go play. And I thought he did that Friday night. It looked like he had fun. Now, on the flip side of that, we're still making a couple of mistakes, which we're going to do that, no matter how long you play. But our receivers, we ran the route the majority of the time. We're cutting at the right break. So they're starting to get on the same page. And, we make a lot of adjustments on the fly that the kids have to make depending on what coverage it is pre-snap versus post-snap. Just because there's maybe 2 safeties high at the beginning of the snap doesn't mean there's 2 safeties high at the post-snap, and our routes change on that, and Aiden's reads change on that. So there's a lot more going on than I think people think, and it's not just one person. And but I thought Friday we were on the same page, and so hopefully that continues to happen. But I do want to go back to the defense on the score. It's my fault, honestly. We were subbing some people in, and that's not an excuse. We only had 10 guys on the field, and where they happened to throw it is where we were missing one of our guys. So that's a coaching fault, and that's my fault. So it really wasn't the players' fault that they got the score.
Well, anytime that's a good sign. We punted 1 time. That's always a good sign. That means we got good field position most of the time. Or we're moving the chains, we get a lot of first downs that we talked about. When you can do that, it makes it a lot easier for you. Todd Burkhart, the OC, to call offensive plays. And of course, you on defense there, it helps you there too. But
it was 4th and 1 on their side of the field when we punted. But the game was in hand. I didn't feel like there was any need to try to go for that. It was playing, if the game's on the line or something like that, then we would have probably still went for it. So I just felt like it was time to punt at that point.
Well, like you say, they were sort of overmatched too, and I'm sure they appreciate you punting it there. Had a couple of hiccups like that, but with 5 starters out on defense, a lot of guys got to step up, and you've said over and over and over, having those backup players who don't get to play this, don't start normally, but when they're ready to play, they come through for us again Friday night.
And, of course, Finn Mertens, we found out some bad news on him. He's definitely out for the year now. We thought there was a chance he'd come back to the playoffs, but he's not. Of course, Simon Mullis, he's out for the year, so that's 2 secondary guys that were starters that we won't get back. So some of these guys that have been starting, they're going to have to continue to start.
We'll take a break right now. We'll come back. We're going to talk about a big upcoming region game at Farragut here on the Buzz 101.3. Back in just a couple of moments. Back here at Bradley Center with Coach Damon Floyd Coaches Show. Farragut, Lord of mercy, we've known them, played them so many times. It's not a long rivalry, but it's been a more recent rivalry, and they've had our number. Won 12 in a row till we snapped that streak last year in the playoff at Farragut in their season. They're going to be laying for us now. We've been 17-14, I think the score was. And like I said, they'd won 12 in a row over us before that, including a playoff game back there. You actually played against them in '95 in that 7 overtime game. That was your final game as a coach, as a player, So you got a little payback there last year too, didn't you? But you can't look at it like that.
No, you don't. You don't think. I'll be honest with you. You walk on that field, there's a lot of memories that come back over the years.
I bet.
We've had some bad beats against them, and last year, I'm sure they're thinking they had a bad beat. Right at the end, it's 17-14. They catch the ball for the first down, they fumble, and then we recover. So I'm sure they feel like they let one slip away last year, but we were due. They've been a thorn in our side. But I will say this: you watch Farragut on tape, and there's a reason that they're where they're at every year. You look at the record this year, and I think it's 3-4, but. They've been very competitive in every game, and they're playing. I said this about Bearden because them and Bearden have the same exact schedule, I think, except for one opponent, which their opponent was Beach. So I'd have to go back and look, but I think they've played 7 games. I think 6 has been in the top 10, or maybe even top 5 in 5A or 6A.
And us coming up next.
Yes. Now, one of those is Oak Ridge, who's fallen out of that, but when they played them, they were, I think, 1 or 2. So they've played a very tough schedule. Eddie Courtney's been there for a long time.
26 years.
And it's not just me that respects him. I think you ask any coach around the state, he's one of the most well-respected football coaches, and he's a great football coach, but he's a better guy. But you can tell those kids, they're very disciplined, they're hard-nosed, they line up, they do things the right way, they're not going to beat themselves, they're sound, and obviously they're a very tough opponent.
Well, if I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong here, if we win Friday night, are we guaranteed a home playoff
Yes.
game?
Yes,
Okay.
we'd be guaranteed the first round here, which, it's been our goal because we only played really 3 home games this year, and we really want those seniors to be able to play at home another game, so that's pretty important.
Well, but you look at it from Farragut side, they're fighting for their life in the playoffs. They're tied with two other teams with 2 losses in the region, and so to them, we're already guaranteed to be in the playoffs, but they're looking at, hey, we got to win this, or we're probably out of the playoffs because Cleveland's ahead of them and Beard's going to be ahead of them, and they've got to play them the last game of the year. But so there's a lot on the line for us as well as them there.
You know high school kids, and I talked about this last week at fall break, there's always these distractions and you worry about kids, and I feel like I've told our team every week, hey, look, this is a big game, because it is. When you play at Bradley, you play in big games, and this is another big game. I will add to it, it's a big game for us for home field advantage in the playoffs, but it's a big game for them. Like you said, they're fighting for the playoff life. We ended their season last year.
Mm-hmm.
They've had 2 weeks to prepare. They were off last week, so they've been thinking about Bradley for 2 weeks. I'm sure their kids and their coaching staff will be ready for us to be up there Friday.
Well, Eddie Courtney, as you mentioned, he's 26 years as head coach there. He's the most veteran coach you'll play against, and his kids are going to be ready. They'll be playing hard. They play for him, and it's hard. What concerns you the most about them? Their quarterback, Dawson Moore, last year over 2,200 yards, 27 touchdowns. He's got over 1,100 yards this year. He's got a receiver, Trace Corum, who's got 38 catches already. That's a lot of catches in 7 games. Then a running back, Schumann Z, he's their main running back. So they've got a lot of weapons. They apparently love to pass block because they got 5 different players with more than 10 catches each.
Yeah, so it's basically the same every year. Their offensive line is really good. They're really well coached. If you line up in a certain way, they're going to take advantage of how you're lined up. So we're going to have to show them some different fronts, not give them the same look all night. Their quarterback's a strong-arm athlete who's a multiple-year starter. So the running game's always strong. So with us, it's going to be a little bit of, kind of picking your poison, but we got to kind of change things up a little bit. They've got, I forget the kid's name, but number 15 at receiver, he's as good as we've ever seen.
That's Trace Corum, I think.
He is a stud. I mean, he is a stud. And so we'll have our hands full with him, so we'll have to do we'll have to take some chances sometimes, and then there's sometimes we may have to double him or, try to, design some things to where he don't make an easy catch. But he makes it look easy. And then defensively, they're not going to do a whole lot. But they line up correctly, they know their responsibility in their jobs, and they're going to tackle well. And that's what they do. They're going to try to make you make a mistake before you make a big play on them. And in high school football or any kind of level in football, it's hard to drive the length of the field. They're going to play special teams will be sound. Their kicker kicks in the end zone. So you're going to start on the 20. You're going to drive the length of the field every time. So there's lots of challenges that we have. It's the same cliche that we use every week. You can't turn the ball over. You can't have silly penalties. We've got to make tackles. Special teams can't beat us. And then hopefully in the fourth quarter you got a chance to win.
That's basic football.
It is.
That's what it matters. And you mentioned their kicker, Reese Kinney. He puts half his kicks into the end zone on kickoff. He's the #1 punter in Tennessee. He's number 7 in the nation. So that's a pretty good accolades for a high school. He's just a junior too.
Oh, great.
So yeah, he can flip the field on one kick, And,
that's one thing about Farragut too. And I don't know how many years in a row we've played them, but every year we'll look at their depth chart. And it's 20, 21 seniors starting. Well, then you think the next year, well, they lost all those seniors. Going to be down. Well, it's 20, 21 seniors again. And then 21, 21 seniors again. So, and they've always had good kickers.
Yep.
And obviously there's another one this year.
Well, it's going to be a fun night. It's a big region game for both schools. We got to have the Bear Nation there 100% to support them. And I know you guys appreciate that, depending on the Bear Nation to be there every week. And this week certainly no different. Only 2 games left, folks. 1 week, 1 game at home next week for senior night, I guess, with Ray County.
Yes.
And then we have the road game to close out the regular season with Maryville. So the reason this game is so big Friday night is if we win this, we're guaranteed to open the playoffs at home. And that's exactly where you always want to find yourself there. We'd like to once again thank Groupies Pool Company for their continued support of Bradley Central Football here on the Buzz 101.3 and also on YouTube and Facebook. Until next time, join us at 5:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff from Farragut High School on the Buzz 101.3. Until then, God bless and go Bears.